just standing a few inches with plans to jump over the moon, so we started over the fences. And now, he was nothing like the cow that jumped over the moon, but he was coming to his senses in his own mind, because his mama said that he was senseless. What you need is college to be a dentist, but he ignored, kept walking out the door like he was missing one of his senses. Material so expensive, if it was fresh enough to wear, I swear he didn't care about expensive. He just wanted to look fly like the birds up high, imitating the finches. In the Blue Jays, he had detention on Tuesday because he was acting so defensive. A couple gangbangers acting so offensive, he tried to show him that his little reach was extensive. So he hit him with a 1-2. He got dumped because his girl didn't like it, then jumped 2 days after that now. Came home to his mama getting slapped now, daddy giving whacks now, scars on his back now. And it's all because his pop said, son, are you ever gonna back down? I never ever back down. I can still hear his voice in the background. Sin was in me since I was young. Just a child, but I was dumb. My mother told me to walk when she grocery shopped, and I would run. Then Pops would pull out his belt and pop it, and I would come. He'd point his finger and yell, stop it, and I would hum. As if I didn't hear, as if it crept in when it slipped outside the other ear and it disappeared, and there was none. Because I was done being chewed out like I was gum. Hurting from these whoopings that he gave my bum and turned it plumb. I was just a rebel-minded, trouble-finding, helpless son. I'd heard of God a couple times, but I never minded knowing him. I read in Genesis, a man's heart is evil from his youth, and I know it's true. I could testify because I was young. And just a fool like kung fu, kicking it with fool like bums, acting out of control at school like nunchucks from someone who never swung. Yup, just tearing things up. And it didn't stop in J-High. Strapped on my book bag tight, thought I was way fly. Walking down the hallways like I was 8'5", and I plastered on a slick smile so pretty girls would say hi. And I was only waist high. And I told them they couldn't catch up to me if they tried. I should have known my first friend's name was Pride, and he came before the fall when school started and all at the wayside. Where I achieved my first F and I won my third fight. Where I would leave my 5th X upon the first night. And that's the pattern that I walked when I lost my birthright. My parents often scoffed. They thought that I wasn't birthright. The Bible talks I was brought forth in iniquity, and then sin did my mother conceive a sweet little liquidy baby who wouldn't behave at any stage in life, who said he hated heaven. He was afraid of heights. I don't know, I wasn't afraid of heights. I was just afraid to give in. So I lied, I kept quiet, I stayed enslaved to my sin. And I know my Christian friends were praying, but way too afraid to offend, because I was that atheist just waiting for the debate to begin. And it always ended with religion, it's all the same. Humans are all to blame, and Christians are all insane. But me, I couldn't be stopped with all this game. I had a chain, I played ball, but I was just locked to the ball and chain. And all would change when I was invited to this church retreat at the beach, and I had a 6-pack at the time. And I was like, sweet. But by the middle of the week, I laid face down, pitiful and weak, sitting still before his feet. And when I stood, I saw people praising, and thought it was silly till I realized Jesus Christ is really real. And when he opened his arms, I cried in him, nearly died in him, thought, God, I could feel God in him. God saved me that day. I was standing in a room just like this with people just like you. They were worshiping God, and I didn't believe in him. I was actually just invited. Some of you might be invited tonight. I was just invited. And everybody's worshiping and they have their hands up and they're singing these songs, and I'm like, they're brainwashed, they're crazy. And there's no God. If there was a God, such wouldn't have happened. Things would be more like this. I was just doubting him. And then his presence came, and I experienced his presence. It's a true story. I turned to my cousin, I was like, Sean, Jesus is real. Jesus is real. And he's like, I don't know what he was singing, Hosanna, Hosanna. And he's like, dude, it's my favorite song. Like, we'll talk about it later. I'm like, no, Jesus is real. And he opened his arms and I cried in him. And I felt God in him. True story. Thank you.